Good morning. It's about 7:30. I got up late again this morning. Just had a hard day yesterday. I had a migraine that lasted all day long into the night. I had an awful hard time. So I decided to sleep in. Did I say I just slided? Is that what I just said? I decided to sleep in. I set my alarm at 7 o'clock, and the Lord being my witness, I woke up at 6:55, just before my alarm went off. I don't know how that works, but I mystically woke up 5 minutes before my alarm went off. Yesterday morning, I set my alarm at 5 o'clock, and I woke up at 4:55, 5 minutes before my alarm went off. Now that's kind of mysterious and unconscious thing that's going on. We'll see how long that keeps up. It's kind of mysterious. But I thought I'd give you a little quiz, because it's my theory that Maine kids are a little bit sharper, they're a little smarter than kids anywhere else on earth. Now, my kids were all born in Massachusetts, but I consider them to be Maine kids because, Corey's the sharpest whips. They really are. And they get it. They do. They get it. And I think it must be their Maine ancestry, And they love to laugh, and they got a great senses of humor. All four of them, they do this. Finally developed. They're all different. All four of them have different types of sense of humor, but they're different. But here's a quiz that kind of tests to see if you're as sharp as a Maine kid. Okay, the first question tests to see whether or not you make simple things complicated. You might have heard this before, but I got something else to say about that a little later on in this story. Okay, first question. How do you get an elephant into a refrigerator? Okay, if I had one of them timers, I'd time you, but I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it, and then I'm going to tell you the answer. The answer is, you open the refrigerator door, you put the elephant in, and you close the refrigerator door. It's simple. You probably come up with all kinds of complicated ideas, but to a 4-year-old, it's simple. It's just simple as that. Okay. Second question. How do you get a giraffe into a refrigerator? And you might be thinking, well, it's no more complicated than getting an elephant in the refrigerator. In that case, you're not as sharp as a Maine 4-year-old kid, because he knows that there are consequences of his actions. And the reason for that is that Maine kids have been disciplined. When they're rebellious, they get patted on their behinds. Not when they're irresponsible or just being daft the way Maine kids will sometimes be. That's not for when you paddle them. You don't discipline them physically, for doing that. You paddle them for being rebellious. When you're being daft, you're doing something irresponsibility, you yell at them. That's how I happen to get my the pronunciation of the license plate on my car, Basta. When my dad would discipline me for being daft, doing something stupid, getting a case of the stupids, he'd pronounce it with a bunch of A's. Basta! What are you doing in there? Get yourself out of there. So he'd do it, and I knew I was in trouble, But the second question is this. Test the consequences of your actions. How do you get a giraffe into a refrigerator? You're probably thinking, well, you open the refrigerator door, you put the giraffe in, and you close the refrigerator door. But you're not as smart as a Maine kid if you think that's the answer. The answer is, you open the refrigerator door, you take the elephant out, and you put the giraffe in. See, you're not as sharp as you thought you were. Okay. Moving on. These questions are getting harder and harder. Maine kids don't have any problems with them. Maybe you will. Suppose you're in the jungle And the Lion King holds a meeting. He calls all the animals of all the jungle to his meeting, out there in the plains. And all the animals show up. Turns out one is missing. What animal is missing from the Lion King's meeting? Think about it. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Can't think of it? So you can't think about the consequences of your actions. It's the giraffe you left locked back up there in the refrigerator. You see, you're just not getting it. You're not getting it at all. Okay. Here's the fourth and final question of this silly little 4-year-old quiz. On the way back from the Lion King's meeting, you have to cross a river that's infested with crocodiles. How are you going to get across? Tick tock, while you're thinking about the answer. And as any 4-year-old knows, you just swim across. It's easy. You know why? All the animals, including the crocodiles, are at the Lion King's meeting. Isn't that something? It's funny, but so obviously if you haven't thought of those answers right away, you're not as sharp as a Maine Kid. And Maine Kids are pretty darn sharp. Now, speaking of jokes, this is not politically correct, but I don't care because I'm not a politically correct person. This thing we say kind of up here in Maine, that if you tell a Frenchman a joke, he's going to laugh 3 times. The first time that you tell it to him, he's going to laugh because he's polite, The second time, he's going to laugh again when you explain it, again because he's polite. And then he's going to laugh the third time a little later on when he finally gets it, because the French, they just love to laugh, and that's the way it is. If you tell an Englishman a joke, he's going to laugh twice. First time when you explain it, because the Englishmen, they're fairly polite. Second time, he's going to laugh again, again to be polite, because the Englishmen, they're very decorous. They're a very polite society, and he'll laugh the second time. But even if he gets it, he's probably not going to laugh because they're just too stuffy. If you tell a German a joke, and I haven't met too many Germans here in Maine, but I suppose there are a few, he'll laugh the first time, when you tell the joke, if he's a polite German. And there are a few polite Germans. There are. I've heard rumors, that there's a few polite Germans. But he won't let you explain it because they're just too arrogant. That's the Germans. That's where they are. And they're proud, very proud people. And even if he does, he's not going to laugh the third time because it's well known that the Germans have no sense of humor whatsoever. If you tell a Jew a joke, he's going to interrupt you halfway through and tell you that he's already heard it and he's got a better version and he wants to tell you his better version. I worked with a friend in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, with a Jewish friend just like that. And we used to swap jokes all the time. I tell you, he was just like that. And we had a hard time being able to tell each other a joke that neither of us had heard. It was quite a contest. We had a blast, telling each other jokes. And I got a few of them from him that I'd never heard. He got a few of them from me that he'd never heard, but it was rare. Really, it was rare because he was awesome. He was really a good joke teller. And I learned a lot from him, and I think maybe he learned a lot from me. But when you're hearing a joke from a Maine joke teller, you never want to interrupt because you may be hearing a version of it that you haven't heard. There's more than one way to tell a joke. Some of them have different endings. They have different endings that you might not have heard. And I'm going to give you an example. This is getting toward the end end of the joke-telling, the storytelling lessons here this morning, okay? There's this fella, he's sitting on a park bench, and there's another young fella sitting next to him, and he's an older guy, he's 90 years old, and he says, hey, to the guy next door, he's just a total stranger, and he says, hey, I just married a 25-year-old woman, and oh, man, she's gorgeous, she's beautiful, she cooks. I think she went to a French cooking school, and she cleans the house, and she takes care of me. She greets me every door with a kiss. She is just the most affectionate woman you'd ever want to meet. She just loves me to death, and she just cares for me like you just wouldn't believe. I don't know what happened here. Well, the lights went out. I got to get the lights back on. There we go. And she is just a marvelous woman. I'm just so happy. I just can't believe it. I'm just jumping up and down happy. And the young man says, well, that's just wonderful. I'm so happy for you, but why are you telling me? He says, oh, I'm telling everybody. That's the punchline. Okay, same joke, different punchline. Okay, here you go. There's an old man sitting on the park bench, and he's crying his eyes out. Guy next to him, sits next to him, total stranger. He says, what's the matter, friend? He says, oh, I just married a 25-year-old woman. She cooks like, oh, you wouldn't believe. He's still crying. He says, I think she went to a French cooking school. She cooks wonderful. She takes such good care of me. She greets me every day at the door with a kiss. She's the most wonderful, affectionate woman I've ever met. She takes such good care of me. She loves me like nothing. She's so loyal, and she's just a gorgeous woman. I've never met anyone like her. I'm just so happy with her. And he says, well, then why are you crying? And he goes, says, I can't remember where I live. So never interrupt a Maine storyteller, because you never know what it's going to be like, okay? And that's the end of the Maine joke-telling lessons for today. All right, you have a wonderful day, and God bless you.